If you have seen this man, you are in danger. This is the man with the top hat. And thousands of people have come together saying they have seen this man in their room at some point in time, specifically people with trauma. It is said he just stands there, looks at you, and then slowly just fades away. But at the same time, he also feeds on fear. In some instances, people have woken up with scratches and marks on their body after seeing him. Have you seen this man with the top hat?
Scary facts you never knew existed. If you think you are dreaming, and you want to find out if you were really dreaming, then find clocks. Because clocks will never be found in dreams.
Imagine being murdered because your boyfriend's mother wants to keep your baby. Huge trigger warning before we proceed with this video. It is very gruesome and violent and difficult to hear. This was 24-year-old Vera Jo Regal. Although Vera was 24, she had the mentality of an 8 to 12-year-old girl. She had a very troubled childhood and she endured a bunch of SA from not only her father, but her mother's boyfriend as well. This obviously created issues with her and her mother, and she never felt safe at home. When Vera was 19 years old, she met a 13-year-old boy named Zachary Brooks. Zachary's mother, Sherry Lynn Brooks, offered Vera to come live with them in their home. Vera was thrilled and ecstatic to be able to move in with her boyfriend and his family and couldn't wait. But Sherry's reasonings were a lot more sinister than she made it seem like. Sherry was a mother of 9 children, but 5 of those children were removed from her care because of her neglect and SA towards her children. Sherry's family was known a lot in that area for being involved in many crimes. She was even compared to Charles Manson. Sherry, of course, being the ringleader, aka Sugar Babe. Sherry was wheelchair bound. She couldn't have children and her children were being removed left and right. So with the children she still had, she would utilize their girlfriends to convince them to get pregnant so she could have those babies. And that is exactly what she did with Vera. Vera got pregnant by Zachary, and from the second she announced she was pregnant, Zachary gave the rights to that baby to Sherry. Vera was mistreated like crazy in this home. She was used to do all the chores, rub Sherry's feet, was made to sleep in a closet with pet pigs. The whole home was just disgusting. And Vera was constantly beaten by family members, with, of course, Sherry in the background egging it on. Sherry even cashed all of Vera's disabilities checks to keep the money for herself. While pregnant, Vera was even forced to drink 3 full bottles of castor oil by Sherry because she needed the baby to be born on her birthday. The baby was born 1 month earlier than it should have been and was born with health issues because of that. From the second the baby was born, it was very clear to Vera that Zachary wanted nothing to do with her. And Vera really wanted to be around her baby, but Sherry made this impossible, punishing her even if she got close or even tried to talk to the baby. Finally, Sherry decided that it was best to get rid of Vera altogether in order to make sure she could keep her baby. And this is where Nicole and Danny come in. Related to Sherry, there's a lot more details to this case and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to post a part 2.
My name is Caitlin. This incident happened when I was 14 years old, and I will never forget this memory. One day, I was at home alone at my house. My mom was still at the office late at night, and my 2 siblings were at my grandparents' house, which was kind of far away from my home. At first, I was just enjoying my time alone, watching Netflix and doing some fun stuff. However, after a while, I got pretty bored, so I decided to invite some of my friends over. I asked my mom for permission and then called my friends to invite them over. A few moments later, while I was waiting for them, I heard a loud bang upstairs. I was sure that there was no one else upstairs, So I stood up and looked up the stairs with an anxious look on my face. When I was near the stairs, I could see that one of my dolls had fallen. I picked it up, and when I straightened my back, something caught my attention. A little girl was standing upstairs. Well, I could feel that she was staring at me, even though I couldn't see her face clearly due to the darkness. I was terrified, and then someone rang the doorbell. I ran to see who it was, and luckily, my friends had arrived. Thank God. It was a moment of relief that my friends came over at the right time. Soon I got my mind off of the girl I saw. We sat down in the living room and had fun talking with each other. An hour later, one of my friends suggested that we should take some pictures together, so we gathered around one another. We took several selfies while laughing and chatting. Later, as we scrolled through the pictures, we found something. There was a little girl standing behind our couch. What made us even more terrified was the fact that she had no face. I mean, her face was just an empty darkness. No eyes, no nose, and no mouth. Being terrified, I told Cassie to delete that picture right away. However, she said that something was wrong with her cell phone. I snatched the phone out of her hands and tried to delete it. But no matter what we tried, we couldn't delete the picture. Then we heard loud thumps. It sounded like someone's footsteps were coming from upstairs, and our light was flickering on and off at the same time. We thought that we couldn't stay inside anymore, so we rushed outside in a hurry. One of my friends, Christina, suddenly pointed at my bedroom window and said that there was someone in there. I raised my eyes up and followed her finger, and there she was. It was the same faceless girl we had seen in the picture. My friends and I screamed. I called my mom and explained everything. My mom couldn't believe what I told her, so she made me calm down and said that she would be home in 5 minutes. After she arrived home, she searched the entire house, but she couldn't find any trace of the girl. I hoped that it was just our imaginations. However, we soon decided to move out of the house because I kept seeing the girl after that incident. We finally moved, and from then on, my mom never wanted me to be home alone, so I always stayed with my siblings. I still have no clue why the girl haunted me, but I think it was because she wanted us to get out of the house. Well, I'm just glad that I don't see that girl in my new house.
Am I the asshole for banning my husband and father-in-law from the delivery room due to their intensely stressful/creepy behavior during my pregnancy? My husband and I are expecting our first child, which I knew would be a really sensitive issue as his own mother died in childbirth with him. We met with a marriage counselor to talk things through at the beginning, and he swears he's been seeing his own therapist twice a month throughout my pregnancy. I don't want to call him a liar, but I'm fairly sure he's either not going or not talking about the big issue. He and his father, a hugely active part of our lives, are completely convinced that I'm going to die in childbirth. They won't openly admit it, but their behavior has reached the point where it's constantly making me feel stressed and uncomfortable. When it was my husband saying, "Please make sure your life insurance is up to date, and I'd like you to meet with a lawyer and draft a will," I was like, that's kind of intense, but okay, if that makes you feel better. When my husband asked me to go through all of my possessions and inventory, What I wanted to be saved for the baby versus what I would want to be returned to my family in the event of my death. I put my foot down and said absolutely not. Too morbid. No way. My Phil, who lives a few blocks away and eats dinner with us 2 to 4 nights a week, got on my case about how I was making things difficult for my husband in the event that he will be a grieving widower with a newborn. I'm just gonna add here that I've had a completely complication-free pregnancy and have no reason to think I will die screaming in the coming weeks. When I tell my husband this, he calls me paranoid, but I feel like my Phil wants me to die. His whole life identity for the past 35 years has been amazing single dad, never dated or had close friends or even hobbies really, and it seems like he's looking forward to being able to guide my husband through what he went through. At this point, I'd honestly be happy to never see my Phil again, and I certainly don't want him in the delivery room, especially since he told me he was putting his foot down about me not being allowed to have an epidural or laughing gas. He's a commanding presence and I know that whatever he wants in the delivery room, he will get. I know people will say OL&D nurses would never let that happen. But you haven't met this man. My husband, in addition to backing his dad on everything, acts like my due date is my death date, and has completely pulled away from me. Every minute with him is morbid, stressful, and a reminder that our marriage seems to be crumbling. No matter how many times I tell him his behavior makes me stressed and upset, it's just getting worse, and I do not want it around me while I'm concentrating on giving birth. Do I owe it to my husband to let him stress and upset me during labor? Is his presence at the birth more important than a safe and healthy delivery? My therapist says no, but this whole thing has been so weird I feel like I need some outside perspective.